Both construction and man made structures can stir up paranormal activity. Today, I'm going to talk about why that is and what you can do about it. Over the years, I've seen a lot of paranormal activity around construction or cutting into land, perhaps man made structures. And I want to give you a couple of examples of that today and possibly what you can do if you come across it in your own path. Now, construction in a lot of different ways, whether it be large man made structures, brand new homes into a piece of property, or even changing your own home, can really stir up spiritual activity. And it's common, it's very common. Let's start with the most simplest of all of these, which is a structure that's already there. It's been there for a long time, let's say a home, and the homeowners decide to renovate, redecorate the inside, not even redecorate, but actually make alterations of, the space inside. It could even be as small as adding a bookshelf or, moving one room to another. I recall one situation where I came into the home and there was a female spirit stuck in the home, and she was struggling because she was looking for her bookshelf and it was in the wrong place. She was also looking for her kitchen cabinets, and those were in the wrong place as well. And I said to the homeowners, I'm not quite sure what's going on, but this woman who is in spirit form and she's stuck is struggling because she's a little confused where everything is. It's almost like she knows that this is her house, but it's not her house. And that's when the homeowner told me, actually, you might be onto something because we did massive amounts of construction last year and actually moved the kitchen from one room to a different room. Now, I would have never thought that because moving a kitchen, that is not a first choice when it comes to construction or renovating a house. That's a big deal to move a kitchen. And, but here we are, right? Here we are, this woman who knew where the kitchen was when she was there. Now the kitchen's moved. And because of that construction, this woman who was stuck in the in between was sort of, discombobulated, trying to figure out what's going on. My kitchen was always here before. I was finding comfort in this. So the activity starts to ramp up. The spirit starts to become uncomfortable. The person who's in spirit form starts to become uncomfortable with the change and can start to energetically emit emotions and feelings and perhaps affect the world around them, the house, lights, sounds, etc., etc. And the homeowners begin to pick up on this. It's very common, actually. And if you're doing a clearing in someone's home, and you see any signs of renovation, go ahead and ask the homeowners, have you renovated anything recently? Have you done, a lot of construction? Because that can be sometimes one of the root problems as to why a spirit's stuck and holding on so much, because their comfort level has shifted. Everything was where it was supposed to be. They came into the home. This is where they felt comfort. And now everything gets mixed up a little bit. And then the spirit gets a little bit confused as well. Is this a bad thing? No. It's not a bad thing. And in this scenario, I would say just go ahead and renovate. If this is your home, if you want to add to it or tear something down or move a kitchen, I mean, good for you if you're going to move a kitchen. That's a big deal. But if you're going to make a big construction change in your home, go for it. No permission needed. This is your home. Just know that it might spark some, spiritual activity, but that's not necessarily a bad thing if you think about it, because the awareness of the spiritual activity and the awareness of a spirit that is stuck is one step closer to helping that spirit become unstuck and be able to cross over. So that's a good thing. Now, when we go a little bit bigger and we talk about properties that used to be just land, now a new home is put into that property or a new building. Now we're talking a little bit more of discomfort around the flow of the energy through Mother Earth. We're talking about disrupting a little bit of energetic history, a little bit of energetic patterns, and not always, but sometimes we can disrupt an energy channel that we weren't aware of. So if we're going to cut into something new, and if you hear that word cut, you know, you can feel it, right? If you're going to cut into something new, if you're going to break new ground, if you're going to put a man made structure like a home or a business or something like this into a property that hasn't been touched before, it's just raw land, it does help to really sit down and ask permission and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Now, have I ever run into a situation where someone asked permission to build a structure in a property and was told no? No, I haven't. Mostly, this is sort of an honoring of, hey, I want to do this. When the living person sets the intention of working together with the energy of the earth to say, hey, I want this structure here, what's happening is the living person is saying, I honor that there's energetic channels that flow through here. Because I'm honoring it, I'm putting my intent on it and I'm recognizing it, I see it and I'm acknowledging it. I can work together with the earth to still set up this structure, but to also allow the energy channels to still flow. Meaning, let's say an energy channel flows from A to B, and there's a line from A to B, that energy channel in earth. Somebody puts a house smack dab in the middle of that channel, the energy isn't going to flow from A to B. But if somebody before building the structure says, I acknowledge that there's energetic channels that flow through the earth, I'd like to put this structure here. I'd like to ask kindly if I can put this structure here and if the energy channels can still work effectively with it, in conjunction with it. That kind of statement, that kind of heartfelt intent is going to pretty much solve most every problem. There's going to be a rare situation where it doesn't work, but it's going to solve most every situation in that Mother Earth will work with you. She'll work with you to say, okay, thank you for acknowledging it. I'm here, you're here. Instead of just sort of putting a big old boot step into the earth, you know, symbolic of the building, instead of just dropping it in there and going, I want it here and it's mine. You have to kind of step back a little bit and understand that that earth, that land was Mother Earth's and you're cutting into it. So just sort of acknowledge, hey, I'm kindly asking permission. This is what I'd like to do. I want to set the most positive intent that all of the energy still flows continuously and also incorporates well with the structure that I'm going to put into the earth. That goes very far. Now, most of us don't do that. Most of us in modern day, that's not part of the process. There are still countries where builders will do this before they even start. They'll say, okay, Mother Earth, this is what I'm looking to build. I just want to make sure that you know that I'm honoring you and I respect you and I respect the energy channels that go through here. I'd like to work, you know, together with that instead of cutting into it. I want to be a part of it instead of breaking it. There are countries and builders that still do that, but for the most part in this modern day, that's just not really the typical MO. This is mine, I take it over, boom, put the stake in it, lay the foundation, there it is. So you may come across a homeowner or a business owner, and I'm going to give a fantastic example of this. You may come across somebody who has built something, built a structure, and now there are problems. Lots of problems, and the problems keep coming, and they just don't know why. And the bottom line is the problem is you cut that line between A to B without acknowledging it and honoring it. Here's actually two examples. Here's one example. Homeowner built a very beautiful large home in this plot of land, had never been built on before. A year into it, the couple was having a lot of problems. I showed up and connected with the land. Spirit came through that was what I would consider like an earth keeper. And an earth keeper is somebody that in life honorably said, I'm going to stay after death to, you know, connected to earth to make sure that the earth is taken care of in this area that you know, we honor so deeply. And so I did run into an earth keeper. She was able to communicate with me that the house literally cut an energetic channel, like was landed right on top of it and broke it. And the earthkeeper herself wasn't able to get that energy channel moving around. There was a lot of fighting in the home. There was a lot of fighting. The builder himself had some fighting going on. And when the earthkeeper expressed that to me, she said, I did everything I could possibly do. Even the builder ended up getting divorced during the build. I asked the homeowner, I said, any chance you know if the builder got divorced when the house was being built? And she said, yeah. And actually, I was wondering if that was part of what's happening here. And I said, well, I don't know if it's necessarily part of why you're having some struggles in your own home right now, but I know that it's part of the process of this home connecting with Mother Earth. The home's not connected with Mother Earth. That we haven't acknowledged the two, they're not working in harmony. So we need to work together to move the energy around the home and get the energy flowing again, which we did. How do we do this? Work with your guides. If you come across someone that is like an earth keeper or something like this that is watching over Mother Earth in spirit form, perhaps even Mother Earth herself comes in spirit form, work with them. And that's exactly what we did. We offered a few things. We set the intention of the energy flowing around the home, and that ended up clearing the home. An even better example of this was I used to own a flooring company years ago, and there was an individual that built a medical building, and they built it on a piece of property. This is even hard for me to say, and we didn't know this until later, but they built it on a piece of property where they had to move part of a burial ground in order to, and it was a native burial ground, in order to build the property there. The I don't even wanna go into laws that were broken and things that were done, and we come in, didn't know any of this. The flooring company comes in, installs flooring, and leaves. Months later, there's a lawsuit, and the gentleman that owned the property, that had it built, that moved like a burial ground, right? That actually disrupted a burial ground to do this, um, this gentleman was having water issues. Water kept coming up into the brand new building, soaking the floors, soaking all of the carpets. Now, we happened to handle some of the top floors, so we weren't involved in the actual lawsuit for the first floor where all the water was seeping in. But they came in, they did tests of the soil, of the area around. They could not find out where this water was coming from. And myself could only but think in a very human way. I'm not perfect, but these were my thoughts. Huh, there you go. Disrupt a burial site. Smart, really smart. And not nice, by the way. Not nice. So I don't know what happened to the building or to the man. I do know that some of the people in the building did say that they felt the building was haunted. And I don't know if they felt that way because they found out what he had done in building this place, or if they were really experiencing things. I didn't have a direct connection with any of them. But and I even tapped in with my guide, should I clear this? And they were like, not yet, because this needs to get solved. Meaning, don't just fix a problem that was rooted out of so much disgrace. So I get it. That was just all I could do is sit back and go, well, what do you expect? Right? That was a sacred piece of land. And you cut right on into it. You're going to have problems. And very human of me, but you deserve those problems. So, those are two examples of building new structures into earth, into the land, without really connecting with Mother Earth and saying, hey, here's my intentions. I want the earth energy to flow and everything to be balanced. And oh, there's a burial ground. I won't touch it. Lesson. But that's what you want to do. And if you come across something like this, work with Mother Earth, work with your guides, work with any spiritual energy there that is trying to maintain or help the energetic flow of the earth, and you'll do just fine. Lastly, I want to talk about man made structures, large man made structures. Again, places all over the world, there's still traditions where they will check in with fairies, with trolls, with those that watch over the land. And as fairy tale as that sounds, it's not that far off. There are literally cultures who have done this for years and years and years and still do this today. They understand that things will go much smoother when you consult with that which watches over Mother Earth or Mother Earth herself. And I'm going to leave you with one last example and a tool on how to work with a large man made structure that is there and is causing some stagnant energy. When it comes to these, I've come across one situation that's been very interesting. As I'm recording this today, we have the first Sage Method retreat coming up in April 2023. Anyone that participates in that has the opportunity to do a clearing on a very large lake called Lake Lanier in Georgia. This is a man-made lake, and this lake is very haunted. It is very haunted. It has a lot of spiritual activity, a lot of negative energy, and there is a history of many deaths that have happened. This is one of the most haunted locations in the country, as a matter of fact. So at that upcoming retreat, we're going to be doing a group clearing for it. And that all set up, it's all in place. We're going to go do that. And now here I am a few months later after having set that up. And I've now landed at another location in southern Georgia. And I'm right next to another man made lake. And I went to sleep. We arrived here. I went to sleep the first night, woke up the next morning, and I was sitting there, and the lake's off to my right. And I could feel just this sort of heavy, kind of stagnant energy coming off of the lake. And I didn't know what it was, so I turned and I started to focus on it a little bit, and it just looked heavy and dark. Not like, you know, bad or evil dark. It just looked heavy and dark, and I thought, "Well, that's interesting. I'm gonna look up the history of this lake as well." And not even as well, because at the time I wasn't putting this together, but I said, "I'm gonna look up the history of it." So there's really nothing of huge interest in the lake that I'm at now, other than the fact that it's a man-made lake, and I went, "Mm, there it is." I've come across two man-made lakes in a very short period of time, both of which are holding stagnant energy. Granted, Lake Lanier, which we'll be clearing at the upcoming retreat, does have a lot of stuck spirits and stuck energy and negative energy and such, but this one is just plain stagnant. And when I sat with it and chatted with my guides, I'm like, what's the connection here with these man-made lakes? And he said, when you put together something like this and you don't ask permission first and you don't acknowledge first that you're going to be literally flooding a portion of Mother Earth, you're going to have energy that's not flowing the way it was flowing before. And it will either take a very long time for the energy to catch up and adapt to the new structure, or that energy pattern is going to keep hitting in a negative pattern, for who knows how long. So Lake Lanier, again, where the retreat's going to happen, that negative energy pattern, there is human struggle historically in this creating of this lake, and a lot of negative things that happen in the process of creating the lake. So I get that. That's needs clearing. It's going to take a little while. This lake, if we left it, I don't see any spirits that are stuck in this one. It's just stagnant energy. If I was to leave it, in theory, it would probably balance itself out. It might not. But it's always good to clear it, right? Because then everyone that enjoys the lake is going to enjoy the lake. Not like we can go to the engineers and be like, hey, can you remove this lake? That's not the process. And again, this is no fault of anyone's, really. A group of engineers sat down and said, hey, if we created this lake, it's going to benefit the flow of water, it's going to benefit the environment here, and it's also going to benefit educational services and recreational services and things like this. So all positive reasons to create the lake, but the energy gets a little bit blocked up and a little bit stagnant. So what do you do with this scenario when you come across a large man-made object that is slowing down or stagnating or cutting into Mother Earth? Sit with it. Imagine, just an enormous ball of light covering that property, all of it. Try to release time and space, because when we think of something this big, I mean, the lake that I'm next to right now is over 20 acres, I think. It's huge. When we think of something that big and balancing the energy of it, try to let go of time and space. Try to balance that lake just as you would a little tiny bowl of water. Picture that energy going all over the lake, highest intent to balance it. Recognize and acknowledge Mother Earth, recognize and acknowledge the man made structure, and then with intent and unconditional love, send the energy out there to balance the two together. Your guides coming through is very helpful. Guide communication is great. It's why we should always work on it. Takes a while sometimes to get guide communication going, but it is very helpful. And any other guides that come up, perhaps an Earth Keeper or perhaps Mother Earth. These are all helpful tools, and I encourage you to give it a try because we can all do this work. We can all do this work. Why? Because we're all connected. We're connected to the spirits that are on the other side, to guides that are on the side, and we're also connected to the spirits that are in between. And it's our job to help. We want stagnant energy to be moving again. We want spirits in the in between to be crossed over so they can go home. In the end, that's what it's all about. Because you know where my heart is. Ghosts are people too.